going on, everybody? Welcome. Whoa. Welcome to Seeker of the Unknown. Thank you guys for coming along and joining me. All right, cool, that'll work. Anyway, all right. Oh, man, what a crazy week. Hopefully, you guys are ready for this, and we will get it going here. We're going to be jumping into episode. Man, why is this so low? Good Lord. Episode 34. Unearthing the lost civilization of the Cloud Eaters. I had talked about this back when I first started the podcast. When I first started the podcast last year in December, and it was a topic for me that I really I guess you could say like a knack for, because it talked about Nephilim, giants, the ancient history in America, and a lot of the ancient cultures that dealt with the ancient mound builders, or the lost race of giants that lived here in America that was being suppressed by mainstream academics, mainstream man, I'm so brain dead right now. Mainstream academics, just them trying to suppress it and keep it out of schools, out of the news, out of history books, anything that they could do just to kind of, say, okay, well, this stuff really isn't what was happening. It was something totally different. You guys are just making stuff up. It's not what you're thinking that it is. We see this happening a lot around places such as where we live here in Nevada, with Lovelock Caves, and them talking about, well, there weren't really giants in the Lovelock Caves. It was, just a bunch of human bones that they found, and there was no such thing as red-headed giants. So what, you're telling us that the Native Americans that lived here for thousands of years and were passing down these oral traditions were just lying and just making this stuff up, right? The reason why I think that this stuff is getting a lot of people on edge is because the fact of the matter that there's a lot of evidence that is being suppressed, that people have been finding all over the place, in, like I said, in here in Nevada and the Midwest, and off of places in California, the East Coast. There's been thousands and thousands of finds that have just been suppressed and been, pushed back by these people in these. What is that? In these areas, for whatever reason it is, that they want to keep this stuff hidden and not let it be brought forward into the light for whatever reason. For whatever reason, it seems that these people, or these higher official types in the government and the political scheme of things, whether it be, the Smithsonian Institute, agencies around the world that have come together to say, yeah, hey, we need to keep this stuff hidden, and people that do find this stuff need to be silenced, or it needs to be covered up quickly. But it seems like this day and age, a lot of things with technology and people that um, uh, have cell phones now, everybody's got one, and everybody's able to take pictures and videos of uh, things that they see around the world. And we've been seeing a lot of this upsurgence of uh, video uploads on the mainstream media, where people are uh, these beings that look just like giants. And it's very astonishing to say the least. They to press this enough that they would say that it's hoaxes, but they are finding themselves at a disadvantage because a lot of this stuff is being uploaded um, at a fast rate, where you can't just get rid of it and just brush it under the rug. So yeah, we're gonna jump into this real quick. It's gonna be really good. But as always, let's get it started right, and we'll start this off the way we usually do. All right, cool. Well, like I said, this is episode number 34 of the Seeker of the Unknown podcast. I want to thank everybody for coming along and joining me on this. Um, if this is your first time being here, thank you. I appreciate you for coming along, whether you found us on Facebook, YouTube, word of mouth, friends that know the show, friends that have been on the show, um, and have shared it before. We have been around, well, this was a baby in the making, I guess you could say. Something that I had been wanting to do for a long time. I was like pushing me to get it done, because she was like, babe, you're constantly talking about this stuff all the time, and it would be really good that you got a platform going to be able to discuss this stuff that you really enjoy talking about. And so I started Seeker of the Unknown. I was just pushing it around in my head, what am I going to call this thing, and yeah, this is what I uh, pushed for, was Seeker of the Unknown. And as I say, if you haven't been on the show before or haven't seen it, the reason why I started this was because I wanted people to have a place to be able to come and talk, to be able to come and discuss things that we would not normally be able to discuss openly with certain circles, at work, with family, with friends, without them looking at you like you're crazy or something. But this is a place where we can all just come together, hang out, enjoy each other's company, and talk about things that are just not normal table conversations, I guess you could say, for things that you would be discussing at home or at work, or with family members. I know for me, having big discussions going down these rabbit holes, a lot of times it throws people off, and they're like, oh man, here you go again. You're going to talk about something crazy. But that's just the thing. Is it crazy? Are these things that we discuss or we talk about really that far-fetched. I mean, what do we really know about what we see every day, what we live in this life, and what we've been told as kids growing up, or um, been told throughout our life to this point? Um, we know now that a lot of the things that they have been suppressing from us, and they have been telling us that we're uh, I hate that word. If you have, like I said, if you haven't been on the show, I hate using this word conspiracy theories, because it was a phrase that was coined in the 1960s, 70s, during the movement of Vietnam, with a lot of things that were being hidden from, public view, and that was being pushed under the rug because they didn't want people to find out things, that they were infiltrating these little groups, feeding them disinformation, and making them seem like, oh well, here they are, they're talking about this crazy stuff again, but in actuality, it was just to cover up their own tracks, so that way people wouldn't get too close to the truths that they were actually finding out about. And yeah, episode 34, it's come a long way, and thank you guys again for coming along and joining me with this on this journey of discovering and uncovering a lot of things that like I said, have been on my mind to discuss and talk about for a while, especially with a lot of this ancient history stuff, and these things that are being swept under the rug and hidden from mainstream media, academics, and just everyday, issues, whether it be religion topics, or, you know, um, government conspiracies. But like I said, this book, um, if you don't know who uh, Stephen Quayle and Dr. Thomas Horn, and Tim Alberno they are, Tim Alberno is the owner and the, uh, I guess you could say, the CEO of uh, True Legends, Gen 6 Productions, um, and they talk about a lot of things. They've got a couple of episodes out. They've got 3 that I know of. I wish they would come out with more, and hopefully they do. Um, they have, let me see if I can find it. They have the episodes 1, 2, and 3, Holocaust of the Giants, or Technology of the Fallen, excuse me, which is the first one, um, The Unholy Sea, and the Holocaust of the Giants, which is episode 3. Episode 3 is the one that really got me going, because I seen it, and like I said, it was just, it was just something that had always captivated my imagination. And as I, talk about in past episodes, if you've, been following us for a while, is that this type of stuff has always been one of those things where I was just like, well, this is something that, if they're saying that it's not real, but there's evidence of it, what's really going on here? I don't know, man. I just got a big old thing, and my sinus is really bad. And I've seen this video. I'll show you the trailer of it real quick. You guys can see it for yourself. But it really captivated me, because I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. This is really good stuff. And I, you know, I was really fascinated by it because of the evidence that they had um, uncovered when they did their research in Europe, South America, and in I think it was Spain. True legends. Okay, let me see. Here it is. Let me get it started and then. All right, let's take a look at it real quick. Oh, this is really okay. Let's see here. Sorry. Seems that I'm always doing this, getting stuff going, and everybody's like, "Man, dude, you're taking forever." All right, here we go. Check it out, man. It's pretty cool. I think it is. Like I said, this is what got me checking this out, and it was a culmination of other things too. But I'll let you check it out. It's really good, really good.
I was hired by the government of Sardar to dig up the skeletons of giants. We always carried the bones and the artifacts we found into the church.
So they would make the skeletons disappear. And the church was always involved because they didn't want people talking.
So we asked the priest, what are we supposed to do with the skeleton? And he said, break it into pieces and bury it under the foundation of the house.
I personally excavated 2 skeletons that were more than 10 feet tall.
What happened? A portal opened, a doorway, and came up out of the earth.
Almost like they were eaten on the run. This was the violent overthrow of the Anasazi.
Tens of thousands of artifacts were Smithsonian's repositories, including the bones of the giants.
At the turn of the 19th century, bodies of giants were turning up all the United States. All over the island of Sardinia, there are massive stone sepulchres famed since time immemorial as tombs of the giants. Megalithic towers, the tombs of the there may be tens of thousands of giants still of Sardinia today.
Giants are going to return to the earth, are going to rise from the dead.
There is a multi-billion-dollar black market for extractable DNA from the tissue and the bones of dead giants. The stage is for mankind to bring out the reemergence of the Rephaim. The enemies of God are about to become the architects of their own divine judgment.
Cool stuff. I love it. So you can find it on their webpage. You can find it on YouTube, wherever you want to look for it at. You can find it. I highly recommend that you guys check it out. There's a lot of things that are out there that you can find that talk exactly about what we're going to be discussing today. This just being the one that I chose to get into today because, like I said, it was something that fascinated me, and moved to Winnemucca, Nevada, and being so close to Lovelock Caves and finding out the history behind what was going on there, and the native lore that the red-headed giants were actually here, in Nevada, and were massacring the people. Um, the tribes that were living here, and they had trapped them in the cave and burned them alive, and they died there in the caves. When you go to Lovelock Caves, if you ever get a chance to, or if anybody that has been there, when you get there and you look at the location of where this cave is and how it's situated, it totally would make sense that there would be these giants that would live in this cave. Now, when you go inside and you see for yourself and you actually go into the cave and walk around on the ground, around the edges of the cave, you can see where it looks like they had tried to cover up other entrances or something that goes deeper into the cave tunnel systems that are down there. I'm not sure if there was ever any archaeological um, um, evidence or anything to substantiate that, but it just seems like it's a lot smaller than what it is. I guess if that makes sense. Because when you get in there, I mean, it's massive, it's huge, but it's like it just doesn't feel right. Like it feels like it should be bigger. Um, and like I said, when you look around the edge of the cave floor, it looks like there's spots where it just goes down further. And it looks like it was just, covered over, but they didn't really do a good job of it. So, one of the things that's in this book, there's quite a few things. I mean, it takes you on this, spider's web of information about a lot of things. I know in the description of the thing, I put the Hopi Indians, but it was just in Four Corners and the Anasazi, the cliff dwellers. You've seen in the trailer, it talks about how they, it says, Dr. Tom Thorne was saying some things about portals being opened up, and that the giants came out of the ground. Not only does it say that the portals opened up, it gives a description of from the Anasazi um, chiefs, the lineage of what actually happened, their true story or take on what was going on at that time, down in the Four Corners region, when all this stuff started happening, is that the natives were saying that they were doing some ritualistic stuff in their kivas, their worshiping places, and these portals opened and these beings came through. And the beings that they're saying that came through were these reptilian people. And they were talking and discussing with them about being able to traverse the universe and giving them the wisdom and the stars of the sky and the universe and the galaxies. And it says that these people that came from the stars, from the sky, gave them the power of black magic and being able to do things with this mysticism, and this magic abilities to heal people or to do dark things with it. But it came at a price that they were to sacrifice some of their people in order to be able to keep this, good standing faith with them, I guess is what you could say. And on the mountains, or on the side of the cliffs, or petroglyphs that you've seen, you see these pictures of these big giant creatures with these horns on their heads, and their feet prints are massive, and they've got 6 toes. Their hand depictions have 6 fingers. You've got these spiral images that you see on these petroglyphs, and you find this all over the place. And I think this is very interesting because when I went to the petroglyph site that's out going towards Fallon, um, there's a petroglyph site that's around in that area. There is actually the same depictions that are there are the same ones that you see down in the Four Corners region there in the Anasazi area. And I thought that was really fascinating because like I said, this is just too much of a coincidence that you would have these depictions that are found not only just here in the area of North America, in the Midwest, on the East Coast, but around the world. And as you've seen, Tim Alberno, he went to Greece, and these people were talking about digging up. The church was making them dig up these bones, these artifacts that they were finding, um, of these giants that were in the ground. And the church was telling them, listen, if you find these things, leave them in the church. Don't do anything to them. But every time they would come back in the morning, the bones would be gone. And they believed that the church was intentionally destroying them, because you heard some of the witnesses saying that he asked them, what do you want us to do with this stuff? And he told them, smash everything up, bury it in the foundations of the house, because they were doing renovations in the town, and they were digging up these old structures of these buildings. And that's how they found, or they came across these bones, was by digging and doing renovations in the town. Now you got to ask yourself something. What would the significance be of the church asking or wanting to cover up these finds that people are finding all over the world? Because you not only see it, as I said, in Greece and Europe and the Middle East, you see it in Asia, you see it in South America, you see it in America, you see it off the Canary Islands of California, you see it up north in Australia, or Alaska, you see it in Australia. But you're seeing that these bodies and these remains of these ancient creatures, these giants, these Nephilim, whatever you want to call them, are being found, and they should technically not be, because we've always been told that these things were just myths. They were not real. They were lies. It was just, figmentation of people's imagination. It was just a descriptive folklore, fairy tale type stuff, Jack and the Beanstalk type, things, right? But as we've come to see and understand, oh man, that sometimes legends and stories are actually based on truth. That is the case. Anything that you're researching or you're looking up. is that you have to understand that things that are being told or passed down from generations to generations within these cultures that have been around for a long, long time, long time, that there has to be some sort of truth to it. And when you have people like the Vatican, um, people like the Smithsonian who are working hand in hand with these outer agencies to purposefully hide this information and to keep it from getting out into the mainstream media or just into history books in general, what would be the purpose of doing this stuff? Think about this. Wouldn't this be such a find of a lifetime to say, yes, these creatures and these beings were here. They were real. These things that we've been told that might have happened actually did happen. I mean, look at, we just had a congressional hearing from whistleblowers who are coming out and coming forward and saying, hey, look, we're not the only ones in this universe. There are other civilizations. There's other life that is out there. We know because I've seen it. We've dealt with it. We've experienced this stuff. So why is it that we cannot see past this this veil of what is being hidden from society today about our ancient past? Are these things actually ancient? To say that they're thousands of years old, millions of years old? But you see that President Abraham Lincoln, in some of his addresses to the nation and his writings, talking about our eyes gaze this, that is Niagara Falls, and that our eyes are witnessing exactly what giants saw when they were here. Why would he say something like that if he didn't, in fact, have knowledge or the understanding, the belief that there were actually giants? I think that they had already been discovered in his time and even before then, that the Native American, the indigenous tribes that were here before the settlers came, I think they were still here. I think they had been here and the natives were telling them, hey, look, listen, these things are here. And they're out there. We've seen them, we've faced them, they're buried here, they've been here for a long time. We have instances like Thomas Kincaid and his discovery in the Grand Canyon of these Egyptian artifacts of these giants that were buried in the Grand Canyon. And now we're starting to understand that the Grand Canyon was something that was not just a natural erosion, it was actually made. It was eroded away by waters that were depicted in the flood. And if that's the case, is that something to do with our ancient past for the Tartarian Empire as well? These things go hand in hand of why it seems that these people would want to cover up this information, because they don't want us to know what was happening, what our past is, and exactly the nature of human civilization, that we are not the dominant species or have been the only species on this planet. I know in other episodes I talk about the Anunnaki and the sky gods, and how the ancient Sumerians talk about how they came here to this planet and started the human race, and used the DNA of the people that were already here on this planet, the beings that were already living on this planet, in order to make Homo sapiens sapiens, and actually altering the DNA with their own. Now, this coincides with what we hear in religious texts in the Bible and Genesis. Um, but these things have been said for years past, surpassing that. And you see here in this book of the Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloud Eaters, they get into a lot of this stuff, but mainly the most things that they're talking about is, if these beings were here, where did they come from? Why were they here? Okay. And if they were living here in the Americas, and you had these indigenous tribes that were speaking about fighting them and how they were ravaging their clans and their tribes, and they had to fight against them to try and ward them off, and they were mating with their women, and they were having these offspring of these giants, these the DNA blood of these Nephilim that still runs throughout the world today. And you have these bones of these Nephilim that are being, or were being found, but some still have been found to this day. There are still people that are saying, hey, there's these cave systems, or there's these burial mounds that we found. We dug them up, but there were these giant bones. We've hidden the access to where these places are because we don't want to have them end up getting looted, or we don't want to have the Smithsonian come in and start taking everything and trying to hide it. And there have been people that have come forward with pictures, or there have been people that have come forward with artifacts. There's people that have been come forward with bones, teeth of these from the skulls of these giants. And I'm talking about this tooth is like, it's huge. It's like as big as this charger. It's probably a little bit bigger, but it's probably not that wide. It's not that big. I mean, it's a huge tooth. And I mean, for them to be able to extract the DNA from this thing and find out where its source of life is, what it is, what makes up the strand of this DNA, is going to be very interesting, because they've already sent it off to be analyzed. But as I said, it boggles the mind that if these beings were being summoned up out of the ground, okay, were they always here? Had they been here for a long time? And if they were, where did they come from? I mean, there's a lot of speculations on stuff. I mean, jumping back and forth and saying, well, the Bible says, or ancient cultures say this. The fact of the point that these things, or these beings, were real should really pique people's interest, because it says that a lot of these ancient cultures, these indigenous tribes, and these ancient cultures around the world speak and say that the oral traditions state that these beings are going to come back. They're not gone. They were not wiped out by the went into the earth and hid until it was time for them to come back, when they were able to do so. Now, going back into the Four Corners region, we talk about the Anasazi and their traditions of talking about what happened, that these beings started becoming cannibalistic after they were doing rituals, that these sky gods, or these people from the skies, were opening up these portals, and they were actually talking about transferring themselves back and forth between these portals. Really cool, because you see it even here. I mean, I've talked to people that have showed me pictures looking strands that are opening out here in the desert, and people that have land out here. We go out at night and we see these things just like opening up out of nowhere. Just, and who's to say what's coming through these portals, or going into these portals within the area? And if they are these interdimensional beings? And in the book, it talks about a lot of this as well, is that these beings that are supernatural beings, these interdimensional beings that are able to transcend through time and space, if they're able to overstep these bounds, these laws of physics that we are not able to access and we are not able to uh, comprehend mentally by understanding that there's more than other three dimensions that we see now. Uh, we do know that there's at least 10 or 11 dimensions that scientists are saying, yes, they are out there. We know they're there. We may not be able to comprehend exactly how to look or peer into these dimensions, but we know that they're there. There's multiple dimensions that are around. Look at Marvel Multiverse. That's just using one example. But there's multiple universes where we live in a different life. We're this, we're the same essence, but we're not exactly doing the same thing. Which is why you see people talking about they get this experience of deja vu, and that's where the Ozzy was saying is that these dimensional portals transcend from this planet, other planets, to other dimensions, and other areas of reality. But they were finding around these kivas and these places down in these native structures around them, these sacrificial burial grounds where they were finding piles of bones where they were just sacrificing people to these beings. Now, if it was so damning for them to say, okay, we needed to do this in order to appease these creatures, these beings, whatever they were, why is it so reminiscent of what the Aztecs were doing with human sacrifice as well? We see this all over the world. They did it in the Middle East. They did it in Europe. You have the Celts who are sacrificing or offering up these people as sacrifices to their gods. It seems to be like a pattern or a repeat occurring thing with these creatures, these beings, of sacrificing people, all right, in order to get something from them. And when people say, no, we're not going to do this, then they end up turning on them, and the people are just like, either they catch a couple of them and they murder them, or they run them off and they end up leaving. But as I said, these beings from the sky opened up these portals that were allowing them to come back and forth between the realms of wherever they were coming from. But the Nephilim that were already here on Earth, that were living here in America, you see these major structures that are all across the country, but the information is being suppressed. Why is it that it is not important for us to understand and learn about this stuff? Why do they want to keep this hidden? Why do they want to just brush it off and say, okay, well, it was probably just an ancient culture or civilization that made these giant structures? You have the snake mounds. At just the right time in the celestial sky, the head of the serpent faces. And where it's facing, the sun is setting on the horizons where the snake's head is pointing. But the way that the serpent is made in this mound, you would have to really look at it and see it from the sky. I mean, you've got things all over, Mexico and the southwest of these depictions of these beings, or these, spiders, this monkey, this giant tall creature that looks like it's an alien. How are they able to make these things on the sides of these hills and these mountains without being able to rightfully see it from an aerial point of view? Because you can't just be like, okay, we'll walk 200 paces, and every time you take a step, put a bunch of rocks down on this path. And they're just like measuring it out. Okay, take a right. put down this row of rocks and then go down and keep going down for about this many paces and keep going down and take a left to make the hand. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense for it to be so symmetrically perfect. And it makes you think that if these things were actually here and they were here instructing and giving people instructions on certain types of things, of ritualistic things, of medicine, of time travel, portal technology, period, and asking them to sacrifice people or to give them things in return for this knowledge. And then you have them hiding, not actually hiding, but the church hiding the fact that they would want to suppress this stuff, that they would destroy the evidence, And hold on just a second. And like I said, it just boggles the mind that if this stuff was not important, or if it was just another of tribes that were making or building this stuff across the world, or the United States, or wherever they're finding all Sardinia. I mean, the video is really, it's amazing, because it's like they talk about, the Cyclops, how the people talk about Cyclops as this one little boy, he was herding his sheep. It's cool because he was like, I was herding my sheep, and it started raining really bad, and I couldn't make it home. So I found shelter inside of this cave, and when I went inside of this bit, led down into this chamber. And when I looked, he said that there was this tall, it was like a burial corpse mound, and this Cyclops that was still had its skin on it was holding like a spear and its sword. And he was just describing it. He was like, it scared him that he went back home after he was able to get out of there, and he told his family, and he was like, he went back, and after a couple of days, and I guess the government had went back, and they destroyed it. They took it. It was gone. He couldn't find it anymore. Why is it so important for them to hide this stuff? I mean, why cover up something like this? Why destroy the evidence of these creatures, of these beings being here, if it wasn't beneficial for them to keep us suppressed in order to keep us ignorant about it? But what's the purpose? Is there truth in the matter of them being able to give us this technology? Has this technology been found? I shared a video of the remains of what they believe to be King Gilgamesh and his friend Enkidu. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, we know that Enkidu was sent to destroy King Gilgamesh, and he was the ruler at a time when the empire was at its peak, and the gods were upset with Gilgamesh because he was being very prideful and boastful, and he was just being, really, I'm, because I'm half god, half man, I'm a god myself, making himself more better than them. So they sent Enkidu to destroy him, but they ended up becoming good friends. And when Enkidu got sick and died, Gilgamesh went on this quest to find eternal life. He wanted to cheat death. He wanted to find some source of being able to live forever. He was so heartbroken about his friend dying. Now, it says in the Epic of Gilgamesh that he came across this man who had this secret. His name was Unearthing. A lot of people were saying, if you want to find this answer, this man is going to give it to you. Unapishnam is the one who is going to be able to tell you what the source of eternal life is. Now, those of you who don't know who Unapishnam is, Unapishnam in the Sumerian depiction is, in fact, Noah. And the Sumerian tablets that predate the Old Testament say that at the time, what had happened is that Enlil and Enki were upset. Well, Enlil was upset, and Enki was trying to help them, the human race, by giving them knowledge and power and knowledge of weapons and farming, and giving them the knowledge that they needed to sustain themselves. And Enlil was like, "We're not having this. I just want to destroy them because I don't like them. We've mixed their blood with our own blood. They're not like us. They're trying to be like us. We need to destroy them." Now, what he did was he ended up sending a flood. But before he did this, Enki came down and told him, "Hey, look, this is what's going to happen. You need to build this ark." Sounds really familiar, right? You need to build this ark in order to save your family. And what he did is he collected the DNA of all the living creatures that he could get his hands on. He built this ark. He got his family and whatever he could to sustain himself and his family. And after he had the flood had receded, the gods came together, and their father Anu was upset because he had made this decision to destroy humankind and these beings that were on the earth that they had mixed their DNA with and were tampering with and making these hybrids of these creatures and these beings. And he told them, "Look, you need to go down there and make this right, because you did not console with me and discuss with me your intentions. Who do you think you are? You need to go down there and make this right." So Enlil comes down and he's talking to Unapishnam, who is Noah, and he tells him, "Look, because I've done this and because I'm going to make it right, set my karma straight with my father, I'm going to give you the gift of eternal life to you and your family." So that's how King Gilgamesh comes across this knowledge of being able to sustain himself by this knowledge that is given to him by Unapishnam, that was given to him by the gods, the Anunnaki gods. Now, in 2003, some archaeologists, makeshift archaeology in Iraq had come across this tomb. Yeah, 2003. And inside of this tomb, in this burial, was this stasis chamber. Really cool stuff is that the stasis chamber was in the ground, and it looked like this casket or whatever it was covered by what was essentially looked like, if you've ever heard of the what do you call it, the alchemist stone that is able to turn things into gold, yada yada yada, but it was just like this red hue, and when they opened it, there was this giant being in stasis sleep. He had long hair, he had this gold ornaments and stuff around him, he had a crown on, and he had artifacts that were inside of the tomb with him. They found another being that had his eyes open, but they were like silver. And their skin was intact. It looked as though they were still alive, but just sleeping. They believe this to be Gilgamesh and Enkidu because of the area of where they were said to have been found coincided in Iraq with the ancient city of Sumer. Now, a lot of people say, okay, well, the government knew about all this stuff and they decided to go into Iraq when we did the invasion in order to find a lot of these artifacts relating to the DNA of these cloud eaters. That is what they've been trying to do for so long by hiding, or the government actually stepping in and getting their hands on some of this DNA, is to be able to extract it and to be able to make hybrids themselves. Whether or not that's the case, I don't know. Could it be true? Yes, I believe it could be. Now, why the church would want to keep this hidden, why wouldn't it? It's hidden so many things from the people for so long. This is just another thing on the list that it's just like, okay, this is, if we find this stuff out and we get people that are finding the evidence of this stuff, we need to suppress it. They've hidden the suppression. They've suppressed the information of where they build their church sites on these pre-existing holy sites to these natives and these cultures around the world, where they've hidden things that were in the ground. They've told people not to talk about it, not to worship it. If they did, they were going to end up murdering them. And they would do this stuff over and over and over and over again. Now, the history that we're talking about is something that you would think would be very important to everybody. But if it's not that important, that it's as important that they would want to keep it suppressed, they would not want people to have knowledge of it or evidence of it. What is the dangers of it to them if this evidence was to get out? Number one, you would have evidence that there are other things that are not necessarily coexisting or lining up with what they are trying to tell you in church or churches around the world throughout religions, because it's going outside of that narrative, that there are things that are outside of the forces or realms that we know of that are not from this earth, that the DNA that they would find in these beings is something that is unworldly, that the ancient knowledge and the ancient technologies that they have found and they are trying to suppress is something that they are trying to keep hidden from people, because it would actually benefit humankind and not benefit those that are elites and higher powers, because they would lose money. Go figure, right? It always comes back to that one source, it seems, is that if it doesn't benefit those who would make themselves rich, then it should not be, given out to the people, regardless of whether or not it's going to end up benefiting everybody in the long run, whether it be for food, whether it be for energy sources, whether it be for the health benefits of being able to cure and find diseases and totally just annihilate them on site by these ancient technologies that were being found in these areas, these burial sites, these mounds, these chambers, because it seems that these Nephilim, or these cloud eaters, had the knowledge and the ability to do things that should not have been able to have been done. They were master builders. They had the technology to do things as far as warping or manipulating time and space. But it seems like they were bound to this prison on Earth and were not necessarily able to leave, but were still the slaves or the benefactors of these sky gods. I mean, it's cool. I mean, to think that, history that we know of is something that is a lot more richer than what we're being allowed to, to understand. And it's sad at the same time because you wish that your governments, or you wish that this stuff would be released, and you would be like, you have hope for humanity that, things are going to, work out in the end, and that we're going to be able to finally disclose all of this information and this knowledge that has been suppressed from everybody. But it hasn't. And here we are, the year 2024, coming up on 2025, and we're still relying on fossil fuels. We're still relying on gases. We're still relying on this stuff that is not benefiting anybody but the global elitists, the ones who are benefiting from all of this. Why not just give us the technology in order to make this world a better place? Why not just give us the information that is being suppressed about all this hidden technology and all this hidden knowledge of these things, these beings, and these creatures that have been here for thousands and thousands of years? I mean, you've got the evidence of, these things that are still alive. I mean, like I said, you're seeing the uploading of these videos and these people that are going missing. They're talking about seeing these giants on these mountains or these hillsides in these countries all over the world. Even when we went to Lovelock, and when I took my son and my nephew and my kids, we went up, and I told my son, I said, let's go take a look. Let's go walk around and see if we can find something. So we went off the beaten path, and we went about like 2 or 3 miles past the caves on the backside. And sure as crap, I just remember telling my son, I was like, this just feels like really crazy. Like, it just felt like somebody was watching you, but you couldn't see anybody. And I took a bunch of pictures. There was like this indentation that went inside the side of the mountain. And when you looked inside of this area of the mountain, it like opened up in like a cave, but it opened notches that were inside. And coming from that down the slope of the mountain, the hillside, were these massive footprints. And I mean, like, they were this big. And I got video of it. And I told my nephew, who was with us at the time, he was like, he had a big foot. And he was standing he had his foot right next to it. And like I said, I got a video of it. And this thing was at least about a foot bigger than his. And not only was just like, you could just hear it in my voice, I was just shocked, like I was seeing this. But then I started realizing, why would somebody be out here walking around with bare feet? And not only were these feet huge, but there were tracks. You see the stride of this thing going down the hill, whatever it was. I don't know how long these footprints had been out there. I don't know how long they had been, just out there in the elements, because you could still see the footprints of whatever it was. And as I said, why would somebody be out there walking around with bare feet? Let alone, what could this thing be that had a foot that size? This thing had to be well over 10 feet tall. I posted the videos to Facebook. They're still on this Bigfoot page. I'm going to repost them to the Seeker of the Unknown page so you guys can check it out and see it for yourself. But we were just shocked at what we were seeing, because it just blew me away that we were seeing this. And I don't know if anybody else had ever seen it, or if anybody's ever seen anything out there around the Lovelock cave area. But it's desolate out there. There's really nothing out there. Really nothing. And who's to say that there isn't anything under the ground, that there isn't things that are in the ground, that there isn't portals that are opened up out of there, that are opened in that area? That's something that is dwelling or living in that realm, that is able to come back and forth or around in the area through these portals. I don't know. All I'm saying is it just baffled me. It still baffles me. And it sounds weird to say it, because I mean, I've only told a couple of people, and you know what I've seen, and I've showed them the videos. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. But what do you guys think? I mean, what are your guys' take on this? I mean, what are your ideas? What do you guys, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just, if these things are still here and they're still around, if there are portals that are opening up that are allowing them to pass through, if these things are multidimensional, is the prophecies of the old ones really true? Is it going to happen where they end up showing themselves again, because the time of them to do so coming to pass? I don't know. But we're seeing a lot of these things taking place more and more and more. Let me see if I can find, some of these videos. Oops. And there's Mexico. There's the videos of the soldiers that are talking about the giant that they killed in Afghanistan in 2003. There's a doorway where people are seeing these doorways that are opening up that are going into the earth. Let me see if I can get this one. Here we go.
Has posted a video that looks to be of a giant up on a mountain. We're seeing more and more of this really, but TikTok is a good place, a social media platform where just the average person can post a video and it actually gets seen by millions and millions of people. We'll look at this video as well as some other videos of what appear to be giants up on mountainsides. Is this a fulfillment of the Brenton Septuagint translation of Isaiah 13:2? God saying, I give command and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath, rejoicing at the same time and insulting. This first video and most recent sighting that we'll look at is from the TikTok page Bayo Udona. What brings a lot of credibility to this video as well as some of the other recent sightings is it comes from a TikTok page that was from someone just posting random videos really for probably their friends and family, not somebody who's just out there trying to get a lot of views. This video was teams in India. You'll be able to hear from the people in the background. It sounds like they're freaking out while looking at what seems to be a standing on this mountainside. That TikTok page has gone back to just posting regular videos, so it seems as if they've really just recorded something completely random and posted it, and it really seems as if they caught something out of the ordinary there. It seems as if these types of something world posted recently from someone in Utah working at a rock quarry who filmed this massive being mountain. And worth mentioning is while they're breaking down this mountain, maybe even with dynamite, there's no way they're allowing people up on the side of that mountain.
Exactly.
Kind of creepy. It's like a person's silhouette up in them clouds. I'm sorry. If it was your mountain, I'm sorry I broke it.
This next clip we'll look at is from actually an older video, but one that I'd never come across. And it was from a giant being that someone filmed on the side of a mountain in Peru. And Peru has a history that, in my opinion, is completely tied to the fallen angels as well as their giant offspring. We can see it in the architecture of Cusco and Sacsayhuaman and just the incredible things left in stone there in Peru. While at first glance, looking at this video, it seems as if two people are kind of crouching down, and you'll see one of them stands up and becomes very tall.
Dios mío! Mamá! Míralo! Ha crecido! Mamá!
You can see here the uploader did a side-by-side comparison. You can see the rock here in both clips and how the people here are definitely closer in height to that rock, whereas this thing that stands up seems to be very tall and thin. This tall, thin, giant-looking creature reminded me of a sighting that came out in 2020 in Mexico. There's a couple playing with their kid outside, and then they heard a large explosion. When they looked over to the hill where they heard it coming from, they thought that some type of rock avalanche or something was going on, and then they just saw this massive, tall, thin being that they refer to as a giant. They snapped a couple pictures of this, and while it is hard to tell what this is, it does look like a massive, thin type of being. When the last days occur, Satan and his fallen realm are going to become more prevalent on the earth, similar to as they were in the days of Noah. We were kind of running rampant on the earth in those days, and it seems as if they will again. Are these sightings tied to these fallen ones and back upon the earth once again? This video here, again from Mexico, allegedly seems as if there's a giant being coming out of a cave and just peeking out. Seems like an abnormal person, almost looks maybe as if there's hair on the bottom part of him. Some people have claimed, whistleblowers, whether true or not, you have to decide on your own, and have said that they know that there's giants in stasis underground, or that they're living in the jungles or in the caves. Maybe these things are starting to make themselves more known because of the times we're in or the times we're heading into. Here's another clip from Mexico with people seemingly freaking out in the background, and the title of the video is referencing that a giant was filmed on this cliff, La Blanca, Mexico.
Giant film.
And another video from Mexico that came out last year was recorded showing what seemed to be a giant on top of this mountainside. With these last two clips, of course, it'd be important to do a side-by-side with people on top and see if maybe it's just a person, but I thought it was worth referencing for this video. Whether these clips are capturing a person, or if it's falsified, or if they're actually filming something unknown, I think it's undeniable at this point that hundreds, maybe even thousands of people worldwide are seeing strange, massive beings around the world in these forests and in these kind of more desolate places. Similar to the lights in the sky in the we're seeing for years, but called crazy by the public at large. Now it seems as if maybe these beings that people have been seeing walking around in the woods all these years, calling it Sasquatch or Bigfoot, are now becoming more prevalent and will also become more widely accepted as an unknown phenomenon. A few years back, the Arizona Department of Transportation put out a picture where they themselves said, "Is this a family of Sasquatch?" But what we see here is what seems to be some strange creatures on the side of the road, and one looks as if it's standing upright. We know for a fact that giants at least existed at one point in Earth's history. There's actually quite a lot of archaeological evidence supporting this. In Israel, the most well-known giant in history probably is Goliath, and it's said that he lived in Gath. Archaeologists have found that the city of Gath had enormous gates to go along with enormous fortification walls. Huge stones were found once again at this location, as well as ancient sites that are attributed to have giants there, and I don't think that's a coincidence. There was also the Kfar Manash hoard of artifacts that was found in spring of 1962 in Israel, and here's a picture of some of the spearheads that were found in that stash. One of these spearheads weighs pounds, which would just be massive with spear it would have by a giant. 1 Samuel 17:5, Goliath was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. Within the Kfar Manash hoard were also found 800 copper scales that were very similar to the type of armor that Goliath would have worn, or who knows, maybe even it was his. The fallen one deceived the world once more. We may not know exactly how that unfolds, but it seems as if all these unexplainable sightings of weird creatures and things in the sky seem to be connected to the fallen ones, and maybe they are being revealed more and more in the times we're in. But what's most important to know is that Jesus has authority over them all. Matthew 28:18, and Jesus came and spoke to them. Authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. If you've
All right, so what you're seeing in this video is, like I said, I mean, obviously, like I've said before, I'm not a religious type person. I've, come to realize that there's a lot of things that are outside of that realm that, we can't explain, that it defies a lot of things that are not being narrated to us, or that has been told to us through whatever your belief may be. But I will say this, whatever your faith or whatever your belief may be, understand this, that these things were and are real. They are here. And if we do find out that there are things that are outside of this realm of our religious takes, whatever they are, it is going to break the narrative that we know. Now, if these beings are here and they are making themselves at the times that we're in, because it is being said that in the end times that these creatures are going to make themselves known, and are seemingly doing so now, because it's happening at a larger rate than we've ever seen before. And whatever your belief system is, like I said, I mean, I hope your faith sustains you with whatever your belief may be, but keep a vigil eye. These things are happening everywhere. You might be next to be able to see this stuff, or you might witness something that you can't explain or that you would want to see, and you might be able to shed light on this by what you capture or what you experience. And if you do, share it. Let it be known. Let other people see it. Let other people witness it with you. And as I said before, you're not alone in all this stuff. That's why I've made this platform, was to be able to discuss a lot of this stuff with everybody, and not to be able to feel criticized or feel like, oh man, I'm going to be singled out here. That's not the case. That's not what's happening here. Regardless of whatever you believe in or whatever your thoughts on things are, this is a place where we can come together and share ideas and be able to discuss all the topics without any shame or without any controversial rhetoric from anybody, or anybody that comes out of this platform. So with that, I just want to say thank you for coming along. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys so much. I'm not sure if this episode was really helpful to you or found it interesting, but if it was, please hit the like button on YouTube, hit the share button, and share with your friends and family members. And go ahead and check out our playlist on Secret of the Unknown on the podcast tab there, and check out the other episodes that we have. And hopefully you're just like me, and you want to this stuff is really fascinating, and you just want to explore it even deeper, and you have that push and that drive to understand, that we are not being told everything, that there is more to what has been said to us that is being revealed to itself. And for those that are waking up out of this cloud of the matrix of being on this, well, this is what just stay on this and that's it. For those of us that are waking up out of this and realizing that there is more to what is being said, and that we are seeing it and understanding, realizing everything around us is not what we thought it was, keep pushing, keep driving forward, and keep making the effort to gain that knowledge outside of the norms. And I will see you guys again here soon. Gonna figure out something. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to discuss, what you want to talk about next. I'm always asking everybody, what do you guys want to see? What is it that you want me to discuss on the podcast? It's been a while. This is only the second one since maybe the beginning of the year that I've done on the platform after get back on to Facebook. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you guys would want to discuss, and I'll try and do some more research on whatever it is, and we'll get it on there. And if you want to be on the show, let me know. I'll bring you about some stuff and share our ideas. So yeah, thank you guys all, and I will see you guys again soon. Have a good one.